from above, to direct and guide us in all our consultations, and grant that we, having thy fear always before our eyes, and laying aside all private interests, prejudices, and partial affections, the results of all our counsels may be to the glory of thy blessed name, the maintenance of true religion and justice, the safety, honor, and happiness of the Queen, the public weal, peace and tranquility of the island, and the uniting and knitting together of the leaders of all persons and estates within the same in true Christian love and charity, one towards another, through Jesus Christ, our Lord. Amen.
This Honourable Senate, Wednesday, the 12th day of August 2020, is called to order. And before we begin the business of the day, I ask the Senate just to take a moment to recognize the passing of the mother of Senator Lambert Brown. I had occasion to speak to him myself, but I'm sure the Senate would wish to record their condolences. And while doing so, to recognize the fact that his son, I think, also got married this weekend. So in the midst of distress was great happiness. So the Senate will make note of the passing of Senator Brown's mom.
Mr. President, may I, sir, on behalf of this side, extend our condolences to Senator Brown over the passing of his mother. For those of us who knew him very well would understand and appreciate the level of closeness that he had with her. And there were times when he would always refer to her, to us. And I recall, well, Senator Skeffrey is not here, but I recall at a meeting of a joint select committee when he quietly spoke to us about, the state of her illness. And so we extend condolences. The entire trade union movement did extend condolences. And so, Senator Brown, we wish you and your family all the best in this time, and may her soul rest in peace.
1 minute. Senator Scott Martley wanted to respond. 1 minute. You finished? With Senator Brown?
Well, with Senator Brown.
Yes, okay. Senator Scott Martley wanted to say something.
Mr. President, as you would appreciate, we have over here given Senator Brown all the support possible. I must confess that I was totally traumatized on the morning shortly after her passing when he called me, because after 2 words, all I heard was a howling. And I know how he felt. His daughter had to come to his rescue to continue the conversation with me. We both had shared stories of our mother, because his mother and my mother were approximately the same age. And I understood and empathized with his deep sense of loss, because he's very, very close to his mother. We are part of that journey with her having to go into the hospital and just the different things. But we are all so acutely aware of the very close bond between them, the love that only a mother and a son can have, because somehow that happens. And we share his grief. He's our brother, he's our friend, he's our colleague. And for his mother, I know that her soul will rest in peace. I thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Senator Scott Motley. Statements by ministers.
Before the statement, Mr. President, I would just associate myself with the intervention made earlier by Senator Gale, and of course with the sympathies extended by Senator Scott Motley. I had in fact sent a card to Senator Brown. I hope he got it on behalf of all of us here, because even as we tussle in the Senate, we must never forget our humanity, and we must never forget that at the end of the day, no matter the postures that are taken politically or the strong stances that are taken in the very emotional arena which politics is, that the loss of a parent is something which we all, those of us who haven't had it yet, we all fear it. Those who have experienced it still continue to feel and to cope with it. So it can't be overstated that we express our sympathies, and we wish you God's strongest comfort during what must be an extremely challenging time. And we are pleased to know that, as President has shared with us, that you have had some joy in sharing in your son's marriage, which of course continues the fruitfulness of your family. And so we pray with you, and we pray for your comfort, Senator.
Mr. President, if I may, let me thank, through you, the colleagues in the Senate for their support. It has been a difficult time. When you're close to somebody for 66 years, it's not easy to watch them make the transition, as I did on that Friday morning. Thankfully, there's no Senate, so I didn't have to miss the Senate. Mr. President, yesterday I went out to Dovecot because my mother had a long-standing demand, which I figured I'd never be able to meet. She wanted Katie to be buried at the front of Dovecot. And I suspect that all the spaces have been taken, and any space left would be prohibitive. Well, thankfully, I went there yesterday, and I could smile because I'll deliver her wish to be buried at the front of Dovecot. Funeral will be on the 12th of this September, after that little event, when sides change. She will not vote for the first time since '55, but I will vote on her behalf. May it please you, Mr. President, and thank you. Thank you.
I can assure you on behalf of the Electoral Commission of Jamaica that you will not be voting on her behalf. Senator Gale.
Mr. President, and on that note, sir, it's not normal sometimes for me to speak twice. But I want to use this opportunity, Mr. President, to congratulate you on your national appointment. For the Order of Jamaica, well deserved. For the tremendous work that you have been doing, and you have been so recognized. But we must also extend congratulations to Ms. Curtis, also to have been appointed and recognized for the tremendous work that she has been doing behind the scenes and up front in the Parliament. And so the Parliament must be proud, because it's not one, two, but three. Ms. Aiken. For her unique performance in bringing Parliament to those who would not often, or to those who are living with disability. And the nation is recognizing the effort. And we are very proud that three among us would have been nationally recognized. We offer our congratulations, Mr. President.
Mr. President, as you can see, Senator Morris and I are in a race as to who stands first. The fact of the matter is that he has fought me for the privilege to offer his commendations. But since Senator Gale rose a little prematurely, I think that I can still steal the opportunity of also offering my own congratulations to you, Mr. President, on the recognition which you so well deserve. It might not be the crowning glory of your career, but it must be a very significant milestone for you. I also am delighted to see that the work of Miss Valerie Curtis has been acknowledged. She's extraordinarily supportive to all of us, very responsive, and we really felt almost as though we shared in her honor. Miss Aiken is a special person in Jamaica. She just has a unique place. And this time, I am very happy that she is able to sign about her own achievement and her own honor. So I trust that Senator Morris will forgive me, but I really wanted to grab at this opportunity just to say that we share in this honor that has been bestowed on all of you, so well deserved as it is. Thank you, Mr. President.
I'm extremely delighted and happy to extend profound congratulations to you for your national award and promotion to the Order of Jamaica. Well deserved. And Mr. President, I was joking among my colleagues earlier to say, when the tides change, you will still be the Honourable Tom Tavares Finson. And Mr. President, they don't understand, the members of the Senate don't understand the close working relationship that we have developed and the collaborations that we have made. And I hope that in your tenure as president, sir, that I would have done what I can to make your stance in the chair meaningful. And I commend you on your award. Ms. Curtis, I have worked with you in this chamber for a very long time. And I have seen your growth. I have seen your contribution. We have traveled all over the world. We have traveled to Guyana. We have traveled to Malaysia. We have traveled to the United Nations. And you have done exceptionally well for the Parliament and for Jamaica. And a grateful nation has seen it fit to reward you and honor you for your sterling contribution to the development of the nation. I am extremely proud because I claim that award for myself, that of Antoinette Aiken, because I remembered distinctly when we recruited her when I became president of the Senate, and we took the decision that sign language had to be introduced to the Parliament. And Antoinette has been the person for the past 6 or so years that have been signing in the Parliament. And people don't understand what this means for the deaf community, because we are promoting an inclusive society. And by having somebody to sign here in the Parliament, and not just only signing here at the Parliament, but when the press conferences were being held for the updates on COVID-19, Antoinette was there transmitting the messages to the deaf community. And Antoinette, you know we have a special relationship. You know my relationship with you and your family, and your association with the disabled community goes way back. And I'm really proud of the accomplishment, and to commend the administration, the government, for recognizing your contribution to the development of Jamaica. And I say to all 3 awardees, well deserved, and continue to make your contribution to the advancement of the Jamaican society. God bless you.
Mr. President, it is an absolute pleasure to rise and also congratulate you on your conferment with the Order of Jamaica. Indeed, one of the highest honors, one of the highest national honors that can be bestowed on the country that you love so well. I know that each and every one of us in here share the view that it is well deserved, and that, as Senator Morris has stated, that at any time in your future, you shall continue to be called Honourable Thomas Tavares. Listen, I won't go fill in all of the middle names, but sir, your public service is deeply felt. I know it is something you take very seriously and that you hold very dearly in your heart. Please no tears, sir. But we celebrate with you, we congratulate you, and we wish you God's continued blessings as you continue to serve this country and this Parliament. Ms. Curtis, you know that I rely on you greatly, and that I celebrate with you as well. We all do, in fact. Again, your service behind the scenes, making sure the wheels continue to turn, as you also support the clerk and your colleagues within the Parliament, moving along all of the CPA activities and reminding me when I get lost in the weeds of other activities that nominations need to be made for travel, etc., and ensure that everything that needs to be done is done. I appreciate it. I appreciate you and congratulate you not only personally and for the growth which you have had recently, having received your degree, etc. You are living your best life, and we congratulate you on your conferment. Antoinette, congratulations. Congratulations to you, and what a wonderful addition you have been to this Parliament, to not only this chamber but the other. What a representative you are for your community. You hold the flag high every time you stand before a camera or you take up your position in this chamber. We're grateful for the inclusion that you facilitate every week and that you have been facilitating throughout our time of Corona. Because without you, so many persons would not have been able to share in the information that was so important for the health and safety of each and every Jamaican. So we congratulate you, we celebrate with you, and we thank you once more for your public service to the community and to this Parliament. Thank you very much, Mr. President.
Thank you very much, members. As we say in the courts, neither Ms. Curtis or Ms. Aitken, although they can be seen, they cannot be heard. So I crave your indulgence just to accept your commendation on their behalf and to place on the record their sincere appreciation of the kind sentiments offered to them on their preferment. For my part, to the extent that the award was offered for my service to the Senate, of course, I could never have accomplished anything that I have here without the cooperation and kindness of the members of this body. So to the extent that that is so, I share that honor with the Senate and will wear it as such. Statements by ministers. Announcements.
Laid on the table of the Senate today are the following. Emergency Powers Number 3, 2019, Continuance Number 3, Revocation Resolution 2020. Emergency Powers 2019, Continuance Number 3, Revocation Resolution 2020. Emergency Powers Number 2, 2019, Continuance Number 3, Revocation Resolution 2020. Emergency Powers Number 2, Continuance Number 2, Revocation Resolution 2020. Emergency Powers Continuance Number 3, Revocation Resolution 2020. Report of the Senate Regulations Committee on its deliberations on the deposit insurance, increase of deposit insurance coverage orders 2020. Ministry Paper Number 39, entitled The National 5-Year Manufacturing Growth Strategy for Jamaica. Ministry Paper Number 40, entitled The Ministry of Education, Youth and Information Update on 2020 to 2021 Infrastructure Projects. Ministry Paper Number 41, entitled The Whole of Government Report 2001 to 2010. Ministry Paper Number 42, entitled Plans for the Reopening of Schools for the Academic Year 2020-2021. Ministry Papers Numbers 43 through 57, entitled Cabinet Agenda Issues for the dates March 9, 2016, 23, 30, April 6, 14, 20, and 27. May 4, 11, 18, and 26, June 1, 8, 15, and 22. Ministry Paper Number 58, Cabinet Agenda Issues dated 29 June 2020. Ministry Paper Number 59, Law Reform Zones of Special Operations, Special Security and Community Development Measures, Denham Town Community Zone Social Intervention, as at August 9, 2020. Ministry Paper Number 60, entitled Law Reform Zones of Special Operations, Special Security and Community Development Measures, Greenwich Town Community Zone Social Intervention, as at August 9, 2020. Ministry Paper Number 61, entitled The Law Reform Zones of Special Operations, Special Security and Community Development Measures, the August Town Community Social Intervention, as at August 9, 2020. Ministry Paper Number 62, entitled Law Reform Zones of Special Operations, Special Security and Community Development Measures, Mount Salem Community Zone Social Intervention, September 1, 2017 to August 7, 2020. Green Paper Number 1 of 2020, entitled The National Investment Policy. Economic and Social Survey, Jamaica, 2019. electricity, electoral work, the electrical work, registration and licensing regulations 2020 under the Electricity Act. Law reform zones of special operations, special security and community development measures, Greenwich Town Zone extension of period of operation, Order 2020. Law reform zones of special operations, special security and community development measures, Greenwich Town Zone extension of period of operation, Order 2020 resolution. The law reform zones of special operations, special security and community development measures, August Town Zone extension of period of operation, Order 2020. The law reform zones of special operations, special security and community development measures, August Town Zone extension of period of operation, Order 2020 resolution. The law reform zones of special operations, special security and community development measures, Mount Salem Community and Environs in the Parish of St. James Zone, extension of period of operation number 4, Order 2020. The law reform zones of special operations, special security and community development measures, Mount Salem's Community and Environs in the Parish of St. James Zone, extension of period of operation number 4, Order 2020 resolution. The law reform zones of special operations, special security and community development measures, Denham Town Community Zone extension of period of operation number 4, Order 2020. Law reform zones of special operations, special security and community development measures, Denham Town Community Zone extension of period of operation number 4, Order 2020 resolution. Annual report of the Petroleum Corporation of Jamaica for the year 2017-2018. Annual report of the Micro Investment Development Agency Limited, MIDA, for the 2018-2019 year. Annual report of the National Water Commission for the year 2015-2016. Annual report of the Rural Water Supply Limited for the year 2016-2017. Annual report and audited financial statements of the Jamaica Bauxite Institute Limited, JBI, for the year 2018-2019. Annual report of the Bath Corporation Bath Fountain Hotel and Spa for the year 2018-2019. Annual performance report for the year 2019-2020. Annual report and audited financial statements of the Jamaica Bauxite Institute Limited, JBI, for the year 2018-2019. Yes. Report of the Senate Regulations Committee on its deliberations on the deposit insurance increase of deposit insurance coverage, Order 2020.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Bills brought from the Honourable House of Representatives. Petitions. Papers. Reports from committees.
Mr. President, I beg to lay, well, I heard the clerk did this, but I'll read it nonetheless. Should I do it? No? Okay. See, well, I beg to lay on the table of the Senate a copy of the report of the Senate's Regulations Committee on its deliberations on the deposit insurance, increase of deposit insurance coverage, Order 2020.
Notices of motions given orally.
Mr. President, I beg to give notice that at the next meeting of the Senate, I will move the following 5 motions. The emergency powers, number 3, 2019, continuance, number 3, revocation resolution 2020. Whether by virtue of section 20 subsection 1 and subsection 2b of the Constitution of Jamaica, the Governor General may make a proclamation declaring that a state of public emergency exists if satisfied that action has been taken or is immediately threatened by any person or body of persons of such a nature and on so extensive a scale as to be likely to endanger the public safety. And whereas the Governor General was satisfied that a state of public emergency existed as a result of the aforementioned circumstances, and whereas on the 5th day of September 2019, the Governor General by proclamation declared that a state of public emergency exists in the entire area comprising the parishes of Clarendon and St. Catherine, and further declared that the said proclamation shall, unless previously revoked, remain in force for 14 days or for such longer period not exceeding 3 months, as both Houses of Parliament may determine by a resolution supported by a 2/3 majority of all the members of each House. Thank you. And whereas it is provided by section 20 subsection 3 of the Constitution of Jamaica that a proclamation made by the Governor General for the purposes of and in accordance with that section shall, unless previously revoked, remain in force for 14 days or for such longer period not exceeding 3 months, as both Houses of Parliament may determine by a resolution supported by a 2/3 majority of all the members of each House. And whereas under the provisions of section 3 subsection 1 of the Emergency Powers Act, it is lawful for the Governor General during a state of public emergency by order to make regulations for securing the essentials of life to the community, and whereas the Governor General, in exercise of the powers conferred upon him by section 3 subsection 1 of the Emergency Powers Act, made the Emergency Powers number 3 regulations 2019 for securing the essentials of life to the entire area comprising the parishes of Clarendon and St. Catherine during the state of public emergency. And whereas section 3 subsection 4 of the Emergency Powers Act provides that any regulation so made shall be laid before the Senate and House of Representatives as soon as may be after they are made, and shall not continue in force after the expiration of 7 days from the time they are so laid, before the Senate and the House of Representatives, whichever shall be the later, unless a resolution is passed by the Senate and House of Representatives providing for the continuance thereof. And whereas the Emergency Powers number 3 regulations 2019 were laid in the House of Representatives on the 10th day of September 2019 and in the Senate on the 13th day of September 2019, and whereas it was resolved by both Houses of Parliament that the state of public emergency as aforementioned remain and continue in force until the 3rd day of September 2020, and whereas it is provided by section 20 subsection 3c of the Constitution of Jamaica that a proclamation made by the Governor General for the purposes of and in accordance with that section may be revoked at any time by a resolution supported by the votes of a 2/3 majority of all the members of each House, and whereas it is desirable that the state of public emergency declared as aforementioned shall end on the 7th day of August 2020, and the Emergency Powers number 3 regulations 2019 be revoked upon the ending of the state of public emergency, now therefore be it resolved by this Honourable House as follows. 1. This resolution may be cited as the Emergency Powers number 3, 2019, Continuance, number 3, Revocation Resolution 2020. 2. With effect from the 17th day of August 2020, the following are revoked. The Emergency Powers number 3, 2019, Continuance, number 3, Resolution 2020. The proclamation made by the Governor General on the 5th day of September 2019, and the Emergency Powers number 3, Regulations 2019. The Emergency Powers 2019 Continuance number 3 Revocation Resolution 2020. Whereas by virtue of section 20 subsection 1 and subsection 2b of the Constitution of Jamaica, the Governor General may make a proclamation declaring that a state of public emergency exists if satisfied that action has been taken or is immediately threatened by any person or body of persons of such a nature and on so extensive a scale as to be likely to endanger the public safety. And whereas the Governor General was satisfied that a state of public emergency existed as a result of the aforementioned circumstances, And whereas on the 30th day of April 2019, the Governor-General by proclamation declared that a state of public emergency exists in the entire area comprising the parishes of St. James, Hanover, and Westmoreland, and further declared that the said proclamation shall, unless previously revoked, remain in force for 14 days or for such longer period, not exceeding 3 months, as both Houses of Parliament may determine by a resolution supported by a 2/3 majority of all the members of each House. And whereas it is provided by Section 20, subsection 3 of the Constitution of Jamaica, that a proclamation made by the Governor-General for the purposes of and in accordance with that section shall, unless previously revoked, remain in force for 14 days or for such longer period not exceeding 3 months, as both Houses of Parliament may determine by a resolution supported by a 2/3 majority of all the members of each House. And whereas under the provisions of Section 3, subsection 1 of the Emergency Powers Act, it is lawful for the Governor-General during a state of public emergency by order to make regulations for securing the essentials of life to the community. And whereas the Governor-General, in exercise of the powers conferred upon him by Section 3, subsection 1 of the Emergency Powers Act, made the Emergency Powers Regulations 2019 for securing the essentials of life to the entire area comprising the parishes of St. James, Hanover, and Westmoreland during the state of public emergency. And whereas Section 3, subsection 4 of the Emergency Powers Act provides that any regulations so made shall be laid before the Senate and House of Representatives as soon as may be after they are made, and shall not continue in force after the expiration of 7 days from the time they are so laid before the Senate and the House of Representatives, whichever shall be the later, unless a resolution is passed by the Senate and House of Representatives providing for the continuance thereof. And whereas the Emergency Powers Regulations 2019 were laid in the Senate on the 3rd day of May 2019 and in the House of Representatives on the 7th day of May 2019, and whereas it was resolved by both Houses of Parliament that the state of public emergency, as aforementioned, remain and continue in force until the 3rd day of September 2020, and whereas it is provided that in Section 20, subsection 3C of the Constitution of Jamaica, that a proclamation made by the Governor-General for the purposes of and in accordance with that section may be revoked at any time by a resolution supported by the 2/3 majority of the vote of the 2/3 majority of all the members of each House. And whereas it is desirable that A, the state of public emergency declared as aforementioned shall end on the 7th day of August 2020, and the Emergency Powers Regulations 2019 be revoked upon the ending of the state of public emergency. Now therefore be it resolved by this Honourable House as follows. 1, this resolution may be cited as the Emergency Powers 2019 Continuance Number 3 Revocation Resolution 2020. 2, with effect from the 17th day of August 2020, the following are revoked. A, the Emergency Powers 2019 Continuance Number 3 Resolution 2020. B, the proclamation made by the Governor-General on the 13th day of April 2019. And C, the Emergency Powers Regulations 2019. The Emergency Powers Number 2 2019 Continuance Number 3 Revocation Resolution 2020. Whereas by virtue of Section 20, subsection 1 and 2b of the Constitution of Jamaica, the Governor-General may make a proclamation declaring that a state of public emergency exists if satisfied that action has been taken or is immediately threatened by any person or body of persons of such a nature and on so extensive a scale as to be likely to endanger the public safety. And whereas the Governor-General was satisfied that a state of public emergency existed as a result of the aforementioned circumstances, and whereas on the 7th day of July 2019, the Governor-General by proclamation declared that a state of public emergency exists within parts of the parish of St. Andrew as specified in the schedule to the proclamation and hereinafter referred to as a specified community, and further declared that the said proclamation shall, unless previously revoked, remain in force for 14 days or for such longer period not exceeding 3 months, as both Houses of Parliament may determine by a resolution supported by a 2/3 majority of all the members of each House. And whereas it is provided by Section 20, subsection 3 of the Constitution of Jamaica, that a proclamation made by the Governor-General for the purposes of and in accordance with that section shall, unless previously revoked, remain in force for 14 days or for such longer period not exceeding 3 months, as both Houses of Parliament may determine by a resolution supported by a 2/3 majority of all the members of each House. And whereas under the provisions of Section 3, subsection 1 of the Emergency Powers Act, it is lawful for the Governor General during a state of public emergency, by order, to make regulations for securing the essentials of life to the community. And whereas the Governor General, in exercise of the powers conferred upon him by Section 3, subsection 1 of the Emergency Powers Act, made the Emergency Powers Number 2 Regulations 2019 for securing the essentials of life to the specified community during the state of public emergency. And whereas Section 3, subsection 4 of the Emergency Powers Act provides that any regulations so made shall be laid before the Senate and House of Representatives as soon as may be after they are made, and shall not continue in force after the expiration of 7 days from the time they are so laid before the Senate and the House of Representatives, whichever shall be the later, unless a resolution is passed by the Senate and House of Representatives providing for the continuance thereof. And whereas the Emergency Powers Number 2 Regulations 2019 were laid in the Senate on the 12th day of July 2019 and in the House of Representatives on the 16th day of July 2019, and whereas it was resolved by both Houses of Parliament that the state of public emergency as aforementioned remain and continue in force until the 3rd day of September 2020, and whereas it is provided by Section 20, subsection 3C of the Constitution of Jamaica, that a proclamation made by the Governor General for the purposes of and in accordance with that section may be revoked at any time by a resolution supported by the votes of a 2/3 majority of all the members of each House. And whereas it is desirable that A, the state of public emergency declared as aforementioned shall end on the 17th day of August 2020, and B, the Emergency Powers Number 2 Regulations 2019 be revoked upon the ending of the state of public emergency, now therefore be it resolved by this Honourable House as follows. 1, this resolution may be cited as the Emergency Powers Number 2 2019 Continuance, Number 3 Revocation Resolution 2020. 2, with effect from the 17th day of August 2020, the following are revoked. A, the Emergency Powers Number 2 2019 Continuance Number 3 Resolution 2020. B, the proclamation made by the Governor General on the 7th day of July 2019. And C, the Emergency Powers Number 2 Regulations 2019. The Emergency Powers Number 2 Continuance Number 2 Revocation Resolution 2020. Whereas by virtue of Section 20, subsections 1 and 2B of the Constitution of Jamaica, the Governor General may make a proclamation declaring that a state of public emergency exists if satisfied that action has been taken or is immediately threatened by any person or body of persons of such a nature and on so extensive a scale as to be likely to endanger the public safety. And whereas the Governor General was satisfied that a state of public emergency existed as a result of the aforementioned circumstances, and whereas on the 14th day of June 2020, the Governor General by proclamation declared that a state of public emergency exists within parts of the parishes of Kingston and St. Andrew, as specified in the schedule to the proclamation, and hereinafter referred to as a specified community, and further declared that the said proclamation shall, unless previously revoked, remain in force for 14 days or for such longer period not exceeding 3 months, as both Houses of Parliament may determine by a resolution supported by a 2/3 majority of all the members of each House. And whereas it is provided by Section 20, subsection 3 of the Constitution of Jamaica, that a proclamation made by the Governor General for the purposes of and in accordance with that section shall, unless previously revoked, remain in force for 14 days or for such longer period not exceeding 3 months, as both Houses of Parliament may determine by a resolution supported by a 2/3 majority of all the members of each House. And whereas, under the provisions of Section 3, subsection 1 of the Emergency Powers Act, it is lawful for the Governor General during a state of public emergency, by order, to make regulations for securing the essentials of life to the community. And whereas the Governor General, in exercise of the powers conferred upon him by Section 3, subsection 1 of the Emergency Powers Act, made the Emergency Powers Number 2 Regulations 2020 for securing the essentials of life to the specified community during the state of public emergency. And whereas Section 3, subsection 4 of the Emergency Powers Act provides that any regulations so made shall be laid before the Senate and the House of Representatives as soon as may be after they are made, and shall not continue in force after the expiration of 7 days from the time they are so laid before the Senate and the House of Representatives, whichever shall be the later, unless a resolution is passed by the Senate and House of Representatives providing for the continuance thereof. And whereas the Emergency Powers Number 2 Regulations 2020 were laid in the House of Representatives on the 16th day of June 2020 and in the Senate on the 19th day of June 2020. And whereas it was resolved by both Houses of Parliament that the state of public emergency, as aforementioned, remain and continue in force until the 3rd day of September 2020. And whereas it is provided by Section 20, subsection 3C of the Constitution of Jamaica, that a proclamation made by the Governor-General for the purposes of and in accordance with that section may be revoked at any time by a resolution supported by the vote of a 2/3 majority of all the members of each House. And whereas it is desirable that A, the state of public emergency declared as aforementioned shall end on the 17th day of August 2020, and B, the Emergency Powers Number 2 Regulations 2020 be revoked upon the ending of the state of public emergency. Now therefore be it resolved by this Honourable House as follows. 1. This resolution may be cited as the Emergency Powers Number 2 Continuance Number 2 Revocation Resolution 2020. 2. With effect from the 17th day of August 2020, the following are revoked. A. The Emergency Powers Number 2 Continuance Number 2 Resolution 2020. B. The proclamation made by the Governor-General on the 14th day of June 2020. And C. The Emergency Powers Number 2 Regulations 2020. The Emergency Powers Continuance Number 3 Revocation Resolution 2020. Whereas by virtue of Section 20, subsections 1 and 2B of the Constitution of Jamaica, the Governor-General may make a proclamation declaring that a state of public emergency exists if satisfied that action has been taken or is immediately threatened by any person or body of persons of such a nature and on so extensive a scale as to be likely to endanger the public safety. And whereas the Governor-General was satisfied that a state of public emergency existed as a result of the aforementioned circumstances, and whereas on the 26th day of January 2020, the Governor-General by proclamation declared that a state of public emergency exists within parts of the parishes of Kingston and St. Andrew, as specified in the schedule to the proclamation, and hereinafter referred to as the specified community, and further declared that the said proclamation shall, unless previously revoked, remain in force for 14 days or for such longer period, not exceeding 3 months, as both Houses of Parliament may determine by a resolution supported by a 2/3 majority of all the members of each House. And whereas it is provided by Section 20, subsection 3 of the Constitution of Jamaica, that a proclamation made by the Governor-General for the purposes of and in accordance with that section shall, unless previously revoked, remain in force for 14 days or for such longer period not exceeding 3 months, as both Houses of Parliament may determine by a resolution supported by a 2/3 majority of all the members of each House. And whereas under the provisions of Section 3, subsection 1 of the Emergency Powers Act, it is lawful for the Governor-General during a state of public emergency, by order, to make regulations for the securing of the essentials of life to the community. And whereas the Governor-General, in exercise of the powers conferred upon him by Section 3, subsection 1 of the Emergency Powers Act, made the Emergency Powers Regulations 2020 for securing the essentials of life to the specified community during the state of public emergency. And whereas Section 3, subsection 4 of the Emergency Powers Act provides that any regulations so made shall be laid before the Senate and House of Representatives as soon as may be after they are made, and shall not continue in force after the expiration of 7 days from the time they are so laid before the Senate and House of Representatives, whichever shall be the later, unless a resolution is passed by the Senate and House of Representatives providing for the continuance thereof. And whereas the Emergency Powers Regulations 2020 were laid in the House of Representatives on the 28th day of January 2020 and in the Senate on the 30th day of January 2020, and whereas it was resolved by both Houses of Parliament that the state of public emergency as aforementioned remain and continue in force until the 3rd day of September 2020, and whereas it is provided by Section 20, subsection 3C of the Constitution of Jamaica, that a proclamation made by the Governor-General for the purposes of and in accordance with that section may be revoked at any time by a resolution supported by the vote of a 2/3 majority of all the members of each House. And whereas it is desirable that A, the state of public emergency declared as aforementioned shall end on the 17th day of August 2020, And B, the Emergency Powers Regulations 2020 be revoked upon the ending of the state of public emergency. Now, therefore, be it resolved by this Honourable House as follows. 1. This resolution may be cited as the Emergency Powers Continuance Number 3 Revocation Resolution 2020. And 2, with effect from the 17th day of August 2020, the following are revoked. A, the Emergency Powers Continuance Number 3 Resolution 2020. B, the proclamation made by the Governor-General on the 26th day of January 2020. And C, the Emergency Powers Regulations 2020. Mr. President, at a later stage today, I will move for suspension of standing orders to allow me to take the motions, notice of which I have just given.
Stop. Thank you, Minister. Senator Bram.
So, President, I beg to give notice that at the next meeting of the Senate, I'll move, be it resolved, that the report of the Senate Regulations Committee on its deliberations on the deposit insurance, increase of deposit insurance coverage, Order 2020, be approved. I further beg to give notice that at a later stage today, I'll move for the suspension of the standing orders to enable me to take the motion.
Thank you, Senator Bram. Questions and answers to questions? Motions that may be made at the commencement of public business requiring notice. Motions relating to the sitting of the Senate. Motions for leave to introduce bills. The presentation of bills without the leave of the Senate first obtained. Public business. Minister.
Mr. President, I now move for suspension of the standing orders to allow me to take the motions, notice of which I gave earlier.
Members have heard the Minister. Those in favor? Against? Minister.
Mr. President, as members on the other side have previously expressed concerns about the state of emergency, we therefore don't expect any opposition to the resolutions before us today. We don't expect any opposition today. So we expect a unified approach to what will be undoubtedly the largest number of positive votes which we will ever have had in relation to states of emergency under this term. Mr. President, we know that the Prime Minister made a particular announcement yesterday, and indeed when he moved the resolutions which were supported in the House, he had of course had discussions with the leader of the parliamentary opposition, wherein it was agreed that the date for revocation, the effective date, would be the day before nomination day. Although we would have perhaps preferred them to go a little longer, this is what was ultimately agreed, and there's been consensus on that position. Mr. President, we know that there have certainly been concerns raised about the ending of the state of emergency. We are assured by the security forces that they will put in place appropriate arrangements to ensure the continued safety and security of residents who have relied on their presence for their sense of safety, security, and well-being within the communities. So we take the assurances of the security forces in the same vein that we have taken the great faith placed in them over the period within which they have been in effect and during which they have done yeoman service, Mr. President. We must congratulate our security forces. They are our heroes. They keep us safe on the front line. And they have been working before COVID, through COVID, and they will be working after COVID to continue to keep us safe. Our prayers continue to go with them. We know that we have had the funerals of the 3 brave members of the constabulary force who fell in Horizon Park. And our prayers continue to be with their families, Mr. President, as they continue to mourn, even as we recognize their heroic service and recognize that they too will be conferred with national awards posthumously. It is perhaps the smallest honor which could be paid to their ultimate price, having been paid in protecting our country. So we recognize that with all the seriousness that it deserves. Mr. President, the states of emergency have been effective in reducing murders and shootings in all of the areas within which they have been declared, in all of the specified communities, the parishes within which they have declared. And they have provided the space for our security forces to deliver improved policing in other areas as well, although our state of crime is still chronic and we are still prone to spikes. We have, however, recognized that as at August 7th, Mr. President, we recognize a reduction in total crimes by 12.5%, a total reduction overall in 12.5%, in the amount of 12.5%. We have had reductions of shootings by 10.1%, of reported rapes 13.5%, robbery by 9%, and break-ins by 21.1%, while murders indeed are down by a smaller number of 3.3%. Mr. President, the work continues, the work that lies ahead. We have been taking the time, and as has been indicated before, that states of emergency would never be and could never be the sole tool in seeking to address the chronic crime problems which we have, which are multifaceted and deeply embedded, having been with us for decades. But the work has continued, and we have therefore been undertaking institutional reforms with the establishment of the PSTEB, the new traffic branch, the inspectorate, and we continue to work on the legislation that will bring forth even more groundbreaking institutional change. Mr. President, we have taken the time to improve the working conditions of our policemen, having repaired and renovated to date 146 police stations, and we're in the process of rebuilding more. Mr. President, just this week, we have also started the pilot of the handheld ticketing program, which will now allow police to issue tickets electronically on the spot, as we have been working on the database on the back end of the ticketing management system, which you know has plagued succeeding administrations for quite some time. We feel we have now gotten it right, Mr. President, and this first program with 100 ticket issuing machines are out, and we hope in short order to expand that. Mr. President, we have built the most advanced ballistic lab in the Caribbean, and it continues to deliver results. And the DNA database is up and running, Mr. President. We have increased the training, improved, renovated, expanded, and increased the number of police trained so that we can continue to increase the size of the force to one which is more appropriate for our size. This is not one of the things that, again, can be done overnight, but it is certainly underway. We have a partnership with UWI. We have expanded and renovated Twickenham Park and Harmon Barracks. We have renovated the training facility at Tranquility Bay in St. Elizabeth, and we also, of course, have had the important National Youth Service Corps, which is trained by the Defense Force to very high standards, which continues, Mr. President. And even as we roll out the Uniformed Cadet Corps across high schools, which we anticipate will not only help our young people with discipline, but it will, we trust and hope, provide us with a greater pool of disciplined young persons who wish to be a part of the force for good, which is our Jamaica Constabulary Force. Mr. President, persons would have been seeing in the press more reports of quick resolutions of crime, nabbing of robbers immediately after they have conducted their dastardly deed, Mr. President. We have been closing murders, and we have been doing so by greater use of technology. We are expanding Jamaica Eye. They continue to expand the feeds which are attached, both public and private sector, a greater use of forensics, and the upgrading of all the ICT facilities which are available to our force, as well as, of course, their capacity and training in use of the technology, in use of investigative capacity. And Mr. President, we, of course, have also been stepping up our activity in border control, including not only the recent launch of our HMS Nanny of the Maroons, the fully equipped Coast Guard vessel, which now will be part of the border control force guard, together with, of course, ensuring that we now have enhanced aerial patrol as well as sea. These are important steps, Mr. President. They have taken significant investment. They have taken time with procurement, with training, with ensuring that maintenance arrangements are in place. But they are in place to continue the work and to continue the effectiveness of policing in what is not clearly a crime-free Jamaica, the crime-free Jamaica of which we all dream. And yes, Senator Brown, I know you will say it again, and as we continue, as was promised and as will be delivered, as we continue to work together and aspire to being able to sleep with our windows and doors open. This is not something which we resile from. It is something which we will continue to work towards. No one could ever have believed that there is any silver bullet for a matter which is so complex, multifaceted, and deeply embedded over decades. But we are committed to the work, Mr. President. We have been doing the work, and again, we recognize our security forces for their consistent support in this fight. Mr. President, this all takes place, of course, in the context of a larger discussion, and one which we undoubtedly will pick up in our closing or pick up in the debate. But I will simply use those words to open what, again, I hope will be a cooperative and positive unified debate, wherein I seek, on behalf of the government, the revocation of the 5 states of emergency in place, the subject of the resolutions just tabled. With that, I thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Minister. Senator Brown.
Thank you, Mr. President. I rise to address these 5 resolutions to revoke the states of emergencies. But I do so, Mr. President, conscious that this is the final sitting of this Senate that started in March 2016. It It will be the end of my second term. I spent one term on that side, one term on this side, and where I sit will be up to the leader of opposition now, and who I expect to be Prime Minister after the event announced yesterday. So let me take the occasion of this final sitting, Mr. President, to say how pleased I am that two boys who walked the playing field of JC have been honored as Commander of the Order of Distinction, and one of those two boys is now the Order of Jamaica. Congratulations. We were there. We were those two little boys. No, we weren't little boys, but we are the two troublemakers, you may know. And I use that of congratulating you and the other members of the Parliament, Mrs. Curtis, Ms. Aiken, and their award. Also note, Mr. President, in this final sitting, that I should use it to recognize the power of our little country in the world. First, in the cabinet of the United States sat Colin Powell, the son of a Jamaican immigrant. Yesterday, we had the historic announcement of Vice President candidate for the Democratic Party, Ms. Kamala Harris, whose father is known to some of us personally, and her Jamaican roots have been recognized and acknowledged throughout the world. We would therefore have the second most powerful person sitting in the United States government, if, as the polls are showing, Joe Biden wins on November 3rd. And I think our little country ought to be proud and acknowledge that one of our daughters has been appointed vice president, nominated as vice president, and is likely to be sitting in front of Joe Biden. And I'm going to the right or the left hand.
Sorry, Senator Brown, 1 minute. You hear that, Senator?
You say you hear that nonsense, Mr. President? Sorry,
I
go ahead.
Nonsense. I ask if you hear that.
What it is? Huh? Oh, yeah.
Go ahead. Go ahead, Senator Brown.
I am happy to praise. I'm happy to praise Kamala Harris. First female of color, and the power that she will wield. I'm happy, Mr. President, that some who made the mistake and vote for the other president are now having buyer's remorse. I hope you will join that crew. But Kamala Harris, it's a joy for us, it's a joy for women, it's a joy for people of color, it's a joy for immigrants, and we as Jamaicans must embrace her and seek to leverage our position to advance the cause of our country. And I think the outgoing Minister of Foreign Affairs would understand that well. The outgoing. Mr. Morgan, we have come to be a family. We have debated rough, aggressive, but we are collegial. I wish them well, but I don't wish them winnings. No, I'm speaking the three on that side. I'm going to come to this one. I wish them well. I wish you well, my friend, Senator Morrison. Senator Hamilton, I wish you well. Senator Morgan, I wish you well. But I tell you the truth. The truth is, I wish that Aswell Senior Smith will be the winner, Victor Wright will be the winner, and Dr. Brennan will be the winner. I said that already. In respect to the one on this side, Senator Orton, he knows he has the best wishes and the full support of the magnificent 8 opposition senators.
Senator Brown.
No comment to that. No comment. So, we wish them well as they seek, but I expect victory from Senator Orton, and I expect the people representing my side to be victorious in those. So, the passing of the Senate into history, I take the moment to raise those things. The resolutions before us, Mr. President, we will support them. Because we have long told you that the SOEs are ineffective. They represent a public relations approach to crime fighting. And that's why we've said all along, what was crucial is to keep the security forces on the ground. But you need not take away people's right not to have due process under law. That was not necessary. People should be able to go before the court, and you should be able to bring charges against people, and not to hold them for a year plus, as has happened. So, Minister, you have said to us the security forces have given the assurance that they are going to keep fighting crime and maintaining security on the ground. We look forward to that. It's going to be 20 odd days in which they will have to do that. But after those 20 odd days, we expect a new government to be in place that will tackle crime and keep our people safe. We expect on this side to be the new government. Mr. President, there's no secret, and the minister in our own words just said it. Minister, I hope I'm quoting you correctly. The state of crime is chronic. Those are your words just a while ago. The state of crime is chronic. That's true, we agree. It was better between 2012 and 2016. It was better when Portia was Prime Minister. It was better when Peter Phillips was Minister of Finance and Peter Bunting the Minister of National Security. The numbers have told us loudly, numbers shout it out, that when this side was in government, the murder figures were lower for every single one of those years. The state of crime is chronic. Not my words. Those are the words of the leader of government business. This Prime Minister said essentially the capacity to fight the crime is beyond him. Time for change. State of crime is chronic, and you're lifting the SOEs. You could move all the other parts of the SOEs. Due process, still keep the security forces there. But, as I've said before and I repeat, the SOEs were really PR approach to fighting crime. It's as PR, Mr. President, as telling the country that for every new car we could buy for the police, we could buy 4 used cars. That turned out to be the mother of all bandulos. I am not sure we have even gotten the cars in that used car sham, if not scam. Handheld scanners. We spend money to buy handheld scanners. Those handheld scanners have not come to assist the security forces, and the money has not come back, to the best of our knowledge.
They scam the scanners.
So that they scam the scanners. They scam the scanners and has caused the state of crime to be chronic. Not my words about the chronic state of crime. And so you're lifting the SOEs in the state of chronic for crime. It's an admission that when it comes to keeping your doors and windows open and waking up and still be alive, the government has failed the people. Just as they failed on the economic side of 5 in 4, they have failed in crime. But the good thing, Mr. President, and why we have no hesitation in supporting the resolutions, is that the words of this government can't be trusted. They tell you we'll save $750 million if we have a 2-in-1 elections. They bring a bill to the parliament for a 2-in-1, and then they abandon the 2-in-1. Can't trust the words. Yesterday, not yesterday literally, but just the other week, the Prime Minister said, my mind is not in elections. I want economic recovery. And then today, well, yesterday he called the elections. Can't trust the words of the Prime Minister. And so I'm happy to vote. I'm happy to vote to end these SOEs so we can have the elections. And we can effect the change of government that the people are demanding. More than the change, Mr. President, the opportunity will be given for a new government to address serious issues confronting the people. First, crime. We have proven before we could bring murder down to 1,005, as we did in 2014. We will bring it down further. We will work with the security forces. We'll give them the support they need. We'll work with the communities, and we will tackle crime to make Jamaica a safer place for all its people. That's what we intend to do after the elections, when we become the government again. We look forward to voting out the SOEs so that the election can be called, so we can tackle some of the problems in education. And we are happy as a new government to implement what we call the first in family, where the first member of the family to go to university will be covered fully by the state. That will make a fundamental change in lifting our people out of poverty, because the more of our citizens who get into university, beat the poverty trap, are likely to be followed by others who are upwardly mobile, and the people of the country will be better off. So yes, we will vote for it. And I was disappointed, Mr. President, but we will correct that. That in the 4.5 years of this government, not a single tablet has been distributed to the students. Not a single tablet. The tablet in school program has ended virtually, literally, at a time when we need it. At a time when COVID is leading to the issue of whether you open school in the same old way or you go online. But a lot of poor people in Northeast St. Catherine, in Wakesfield and Bounty Hall, in Crooked River, in Mount Salem and Granville, poor people, children, are not able to access the internet and therefore benefit from proper education. All because an uncaring government has played politics with the tablet in school program and have denied our children. But that will change. That is going to change because we're voting out this SOE and we're getting an election, and in that election, a change is coming. Senator Gill, for 4.5 years, your government has not tackled the pernicious problem of contract workers. As trade unionists, you must support me on this. The incoming government of the People's National Party is going to tackle the issue of contract workers. We're going to make sure, yes, because the SOE we're voting against today is to open the door for the election and for the door to be open to a new government which will fix the problem for the people. Yes. And one of the problems we face, and I'm glad you say it, because it's clearly your government didn't understand this as a problem facing the people, the contract work. We're going to put protection for contract workers, we're going to make sure they get vacation and sick leave, and we're going to protect their tenure at the workplace. A new day is coming for contract workers. We will deal with that. Opportunities for young people. Restoring the macroeconomic situation. These are commitments we give, and we're not going to treat as aspirations. And Senator Hill, let me say this to you. The greatest aspiration you all have is to believe you're going to get a second term. Your second term will be like 5 in 4 aspiration. Your second term will be like sleep with your windows open, aspiration. Your second term dream is an aspiration, which will not be really realized. No, make it 18 because 4 started under us. Make it 18 because 4 started. You see, once the tree is planted, it will keep growing. And we planted it, watered it, and keep it going. Yeah. And it chopped down before COVID started. Mr. President, one of the things we want to be clear on, and I stand on this as a person who defends the poor. The thieving of government resources must stop. The thieving of government resources must stop. We can't call it corruption. It's just blatant thieving of government resources. Giving family members contract here and there for work not done. Or we don't know. We have to change that, and a new approach to governance is a commitment the new government brings to the people of the country. And in closing, Mr. President, I just want to say a few other things. This government, through the Prime Minister on Tuesday, and also in advertisement being paid for by the Office of the Prime Minister, which is the most unethical thing being done, where the government is paying for what is essentially a political advertisement.
My tax dollar doing that.
Something that the political ombudsman of the past have spoken out against, that state agencies should not be advertising during election. And in fact, I believe it's a breach.
On a point of order,
It's a
Mr. President.
breach. It's a breach of
On a point of order,
the
Mr.
political
President.
1 minute, Senator
ambushment.
Brown. Yes, Senator.
Mr. President, this senator is misleading the House. No ads from the office of the Prime Minister are running in an election period. The ads that I have noticed on television have been running for several weeks, and I do not know that nomination day has occurred as yet.
Senator Morgan, that's very interesting, but it's not a point of order. Continue, Senator Brown.
What it is, Mr. President, is an admission of the cynicism and the disrespect for the traditions and good governance. But that's how they are. And that's why the people are going to sweep them out. Mr. President,
Sweep them out.
Mr. President, no, I was just meeting with him a while ago. I'm trying to make a peace, yeah. Mr. President, that ad points to a new Jamaica, which is one of the biggest pieces of dishonesty we could get. To tell me that the continuation of the work on Constant Spring, Marcus Garvey, Agley Park, and 3 Miles started under the previous government represents a new KD. No, we're not worried about it because we know where the genesis of the work. But what I want to make it clear, Mr. President, if you want to find a new Jamaica and you want to use roads as that way, I invite my friends and the country to look at the North Coast Highway from Negril through Hanover, through St. James, through St. Anne's, through St. Mary, right out to Port Antonio and Portland, opening up the country's economy. And we have seen the tourist development in that corridor because of the work, because of what we did with Donald Sangster Airport. So the growth in tourism that we speak about today is because of that vision of a new Jamaica by the People's National Party. Mr. President, you want to talk about a new Jamaica?
No, I want to talk about the emergency.
That's what I'm talking about. And this SOE is the calls for the election. This SOE is the call for the election. I know you don't want to know about the new Jamaica, but let us remind you that the East-West Highway 2000. No, I'm not going to stop. I thank them for the applause, Mr. President. This is me. I thank them for the applause that the new Jamaica that we open with the East-West Highway from Mandela through to Maypen and beyond, and to connect with Williamsfield, that opened the economy, that reduced unproductive time, avoid the backup in Olab and Spanish Town, that opened the country to a new opportunity of investment and growth. That is the new Jamaica that we started. Keep it up. You need more than that because Dr. Brennan have you on the run. So that Highway 2000, Mr. President, which you will recall.
Senator Brown, come now, man.
No, don't tell me to come.
Deal with the regulation, man. Deal with the
That's
thing
what I'm dealing with.
You're not
The
dealing with
regulation
it,
is about elections.
And if I were to get a
And
point
elections
of order,
about
I would
the new
uphold it.
Jamaica. Right? So, Mr. President, let me make it clear. Highway 2000, open the country. That's the new Jamaica. And then the one you take the jacket for, North-South Highway. The one you take the jacket for. I never seen a government love jacket so much. The one that took the jacket for, the North-South
You know that
highway.
if I got a point of order to the effect that you're not dealing with the topic, I would uphold it, but I'm
Well,
not
uphold
getting
it,
the point
President.
of order.
This is the last sitting, so you want to uphold it. I understand the politics in it. I understand the politics in it. Mr. President, when we fix Spur-Tree Hill, that was opening up a new Jamaica for the people on the southern side of the country. When we built the Williamsfield bypass, we were open. That's the script I'm sticking to. Mr. President, it's the last day. You can't suspend me because it's the last day. So if you want to,
I want to.
But the
I
people
can't
of the
suspend
country.
you. I can't suspend you, but I'm able to say I'm really looking forward to seeing you in the next dispensation. That's what I can say.
Except you will go over here.
Mr.
President?
May or may not be so, but stick
Mr. President, let me
to
just.
the
I
regulation.
get into the end. Get into the end. I am satisfied that when they set today's meeting with less than 24-hour notice to the senator, it shows that once again the chaka-chaka approach to governance in the country. But Mr. President, when I look on the order paper and all the resolutions not taken, many from the opposition, it tells me that this government, at best, it's a government of public relations. But the judgment cometh. Yeah, man, like you. The judgment cometh. The judgment cometh. And what I'm hearing out there, whether from Cambridge, Salt Spring, Falmouth, throughout the country, the people are saying, bye-bye to this PR government. They're saying time to sweep out the incompetent crime management.
Come now, Senator Brown. Yes,
Sweep them out.
Senator Brown, you know
They're
you are
saying the
causing
poor
this, you
help.
know. Hello. The senator, although he has digressed from the script, is entitled to be heard. So you need to cut out the singing. Senator Brown, wrap up, please.
That's what I'm doing. They're saying, the people are saying, bye-bye to the unemployment and the joblessness. Bye-bye to the poverty. Bye-bye to the poor health facility where a lady, retired teacher, died from falling off a chair because she couldn't get a bed, because some people at CMU and otherwise gone with the money. Stop the thieving. The people are saying bye-bye to the thieving. Bye-bye to the lies. Bye-bye to the false promises. Bye-bye to dishonesty. Bye-bye to the lack of thing. The people are ready to sweep them out, and I will be part of that. May it please you, Mr. President.
And let us hope. Minister.
Ask the Prime Minister and ask Bruce Golden.
Senator Knight.
Thank you, President. President, how could I possibly not personally associate myself with the words of the congratulatory words that were issued to you by my colleagues? And when I say colleagues, I mean colleagues on both sides. and the words issued to Mrs. Curtis and Ms. Aiken, who is not here now. All three are deserving of the fond words spoken and the recognition of the service that has been given by you and the other two members of the staff. And so I add my own words of congratulations. Mr. President, I'm in a dilemma. And I will tell you why. When the SOE started, I voted for it. And then at a point, I signaled very clearly that I could not continue to vote for it because it was not achieving the objectives. And I said that I would abstain. And so I did thereafter. And then the last occasion when this matter came up, they almost persuaded me how wonderful it was. And so I came here this morning to support an extension. And I discovered that no, it was to end it. Well, when I heard it was to end it, again I said, this means that it has achieved its objective. Because if it has not, then there is a certain amount of recklessness based on their own thinking in ending it. Reckless. But then that is to be expected because their natural behavior is to be reckless. And so, by their own action, they have decided to expose the people of Jamaica to danger because they have not uttered one word to persuade us that the purpose, the objective for which the states of emergency were implemented have been achieved. So then, it has to be another basis on which this is being now revoked. It is as I understand it, can only be to fulfill a promise made by the Prime Minister that an election would not be held during the currency of a state of emergency. And as my friend Senator Orvin Hill has said, promise kept. Normally, when a promise is kept, it attracts some applause. But this one can't, because it is a sign of recklessness. Because what the Prime Minister is saying to the country I have the authority to call the election. I am calling it at a time when the state of crime is still high.
It's not chronic. It's not chronic. It's not over.
Very high. And so he has chosen recklessly to expose the people of Jamaica to an election when criminal activity under his watch is still at an unbearable level. Chronic level. That's recklessness. Now, there's a penalty, there's a political penalty for recklessness. And the political penalty for recklessness is to remove that person or persons who are culpable. Yes, sir. And the government of Jamaica, as it is today, is culpable. And therefore, it is incumbent on the people of Jamaica to remove this reckless government. Reckless. The resonance is not in here. The resonance is out there. And you will feel it. You will feel it. You will feel it because, let me tell you, you can fool the people of Jamaica some of the time, but you can't fool them all of the time.
Yeah,
You can't.
how much a fool are we having? You're only put on fooling.
And then, you know, we have been calling and begging and asking for a crime plan. Never had it. Never got it. Never got it. And what is happening now? I heard it sounded like a voice from over there, saying it's in the manifesto. Yes, it will be there. Yes, it will be there because people must know why they're voting for a particular party. They must know. You can't put it in your manifesto because you don't have one. And my goodness, what is happening now is that they are removing the state of emergency, which is the platform on which they tackle the crime problem. And in its place, not even temporarily, have they said what then will obtain. So they leave us to the mercy of chance. That, Mr. President, is recklessness. A reckless disregard for the people of Jamaica. And now they dare to say they are coming to the people for a renewal of their mandate. They don't like to hear it, but they will hear it, see it, and feel it. We're going to sweep them out.
Sweep them out.
Sweep them out.
Sweep them out.
So was Joseph. So was Joseph. So was Joseph. So he was a young man. So only the young are supposed to dream. That is why when Senator Brown said, Mr. President, You want to talk about the new Jamaica. The president said no, and there was rapturous applause. And it struck me. It struck me. Because I said to myself, who would not want to talk about building a new Jamaica? Those who are satisfied with the status quo. Those who are satisfied with the status quo. Now, let me just get to a part of what exists now. Let me tell you, when you're fighting crime, those who are charged with that responsibility must be beyond reproach. This government can't fight crime. They can't fight crime at any level. They can't fight violent crime. They can't fight dishonesty and thieving because they are not examples of purity. They are not. I have had occasion in this Senate to speak about the sticky fingers of members of the administration. Simply put, there are some who come across as open thieves. And, President, and you must bow your head because you cannot be proud of them. And what happens is this, that the statistics show that from some areas of the economy, members connected with the present administration have stolen somewhere in the region of about $14 billion.
Wow, shame, wow. Shame. And they said don't matter. And then they said don't matter.
And you know what it means? It means this, that from every single Jamaican, roughly $4.6 million has been stolen, including the beggar on the street.
What?
Including the beggar.
Mr. President, on a point of order, sorry, I was distracted, but I'm just trying to understand what the senator is. Is he alleging that members of the government have stolen their $14 billion? Is this what he is saying? I believe the senator is misleading the House, Mr. President, and I would ask that he withdraw. There's
more than 14?
Parliamentary privilege shouldn't be used in this way, Mr. President.
Well,
Senator Knight,
no,
here.
a point of order cannot be raised on I believe.
Senator Knight, what the minister is saying is that you are making...
I heard her.
Okay.
I don't care to hear the repetition.
Will you respond to it?
No, because it is rubbish.
What is rubbish? What you have said or what she has said?
To get up and tell the president, I believe, and ask if that is what he said. And
What
then
she has done is ask you to
What
she has done is ask you to substantiate the allegation. What she has done is ask you to substantiate the allegation.
Pardon me?
What the minister has done is to ask you to substantiate the allegation.
She had no authority to do that.
But neither do you have...
And this is a part of the problem. People are acting without authority. That's why some of them get themselves in trouble.
Yes, sir.
They don't have any authority over public funds, but they're seeking to expend it and put it in bank accounts.
Okay. Well, I think that
Going too far, that is in
that
the
it is.
newspaper.
That's in the parliament too.
That is in the parliament. That's in
all right,
the parliament.
Senator Knight, you have made an allegation, unsubstantiated. So what, Senator Brown, just give me a break.
Tell me,
You can't use a newspaper to substantiate an
tell
allegation.
me, no, I'm
So
not
what-
using it to
okay, so what-
substantiate.
What
I
I'm
am
going to ask
using
you
it-
to do is
No,
move on.
I'm not using it to substantiate. I am using it to show the wide public knowledge about it.
Yeah. People must stop.
$4.6 million. And the people in Cheesefield don't have water. And the people in Redwood don't have water.
Can I hear traffic guru report? Why can't I hear?
Because Qatar tell them don't raise it. Qatar tell them don't raise traffic. Qatar tell them don't raise it.
I will tell you why. Because the law of Jamaica says that a person who is giving a statement as a witness does not give that statement in
And
open
they
court.
don't give it in open court.
And I will tell you further. I will.
They don't give it in Kuwait, Harvey. They don't give it in
So,
Kuwait either.
so you believe that that is the end of the process? Oh no, persons associated with the administration to thief. Show me. There's no thieving in Trafigura. You shut up because the contractor general.
No, thank you. Thank you. Senator Brown.
Point of order.
No, 1 minute.
No, I mean no.
I said no, I'm not taking it now.
Oh,
Senator Knight is on his feet and he is required by the standing orders to be heard
Thank you.
in silence. So please allow him to continue. Well, I never heard any point of order in relation to that, so you can continue.
The contractor general, a member of the Senate, the contractor general says he should never sit on a board.
I wonder if Mr. Harvey said that about. I wonder if the contractor said that about.
That's his opinion, and I disagree with it.
And what is it?
Senator, Senator Knight, you know that we can descend rapidly, so you can just please
Well, I'm trying to keep
look
it
at
at
the-
a certain
look at
high
the-
level.
look at the regulation that we're dealing with.
With all your experience, you should not have exposed yourself as you did to the
Senator Knight.
contractor general.
Senator Knight, there is a Senator Brown.
If he punches,
If it's Senator Knight, Senator Knight.
I'm not making allegations.
Senator
I'm
Knight.
citing the contractor general report.
Senator Knight.
He said you shouldn't sit on the board. Very, very powerful opinion. Stop using it. Stop using Trafigura.
Senator Knight. Senator Knight. Members, I'm going to...
The PNP never stole. I will tell you, if the PNP had stolen, Trafigura couldn't be charged in Holland for breaching their election laws. That's what Trafigura is about, a breach in a foreign jurisdiction of their election legislation. That is why the Director of Public Prosecutions told the court that there is no allegation of corruption against any Jamaican citizen. That's the court said that. That's the Director of Public Prosecutions saying that.
Senator Knight.
Too much thief.
Senator Knight. Senator Knight. Senator Knight. On this, the last sitting of the Senate for this term, I'm going to ask.
So why you are inflaming the situation? The president is speaking and you don't have the courtesy to listen to him.
Senator Knight, I'm going to ask you to deal with the issue that is before the Senate, which is the lifting of the emergency powers 3.
But I'm talking about that.
2 and 3. No, you're not really, you know. So just stick to the, Senator Brown. Senator Brown. No, I have to, you know, because sometimes I have to save people from themselves. We are trying to get through.
President,
We're trying to get through an agenda today, and I really appreciate it. If
President,
on this last day of this sitting, we could really just deal with the issues at hand. And I must say to you, too, that I am disappointed at the personal statements coming from both sides against members of the Senate. So let us try and lift the thing, because I have, contrary to what Senator Brown may believe, I do have the authority to bring the debate to a close. So, yeah, I'm not talking to you, Senator Brown.
No, you're talking to us.
So, Senator Knight, just continue for me, please.
I've done it enough times.
I've done it enough times. Senator Knight, continue, please. Members, I'm going to ask you, please, to allow Senator Knight to continue, and I'm going to ask Senator Knight, please, to stick to the relevance of the debate, of the motion.
President, this motion is about the revocation of orders made pursuant to the fight against crime. It specifically deals with violent crime. But violent crime is oftentimes the offspring of poverty. Violent crime oftentimes begins other than with violent actions. And therefore, I think I'm at liberty to speak in the context of that. Someone over there may seem bemused. That's understandable. So that in my own view, there is nothing I have said which is outside of the margins of this debate. Nothing. Having been interrupted in almost a violent way, it is likely that my time will shortly expire, and I have no intention of seeking an extension. So let me just say this. If there is a denial on the part of anybody in the present administration that it is rife with corruption, and that corruption extending to stealing, then let that person stand up and be heard, because there can be no such denial. So the issue now is, if an administration allows for the stealing of taxpayers' money, ought that administration to suffer some consequences? Indeed it should. Because as I had pointed out, $4.6 million from each Jamaican in circumstances where housing is poor for some, no water for some, no light for some, no roads for some, no medication for some, and what we are talking about, and you sit here as if, and deputy, you're deputy president of the Senate. Yes.
Senator Knight, Senator
So
Hill.
why are you interrupting?
Senator Hill and Senator Knight, please.
Why are you interrupting? Your chest can't take punches. So don't punch. Well, don't hang out your head either. Because I will snap it off.
Mr. President, on a point of order.
Sorry, Senator Knight. Point of order, Senator
Is
Brown.
Senator Hill threatening the senator? Because frankly, I haven't said anything about Kuwait. And if I was him, I'd keep my mouth shut.
Senator,
I know a lot
Senator
about
Brown.
Kuwait.
Senator Knight, continue for me, please.
But don't get the thing wrong, though.
Yes, so I was pointing out the debilitating effect of stealing taxpayers' money. And, for example, in northeast St. Catherine, the roads are bad. The roads are bad. They recently had to remove the serving MP as the candidate in the next election. Why? People are saying he wasn't performing. Why wasn't he performing? Shut up your mouth and listen. You think you're in St. James Parish Council? Careful. Careful. Sometimes I jab, sometimes I knock out. Careful. Careful. You don't understand figuratively speaking. That's your problem. You don't listen. You don't read enough. You should read the Contractor General's report.
Senator Knight, could I ask you to continue? Members of the Senate, including Senator Brown, Hill, and Sinclair, would you please allow Senator Knight to complete his presentation?
I will, Mr. President. I hope he sticks to the matter.
May I now proceed, President?
Yes, of course.
Thank you. $4.6 million from the man in prison to the man in the poorhouse to the man on the street to the beggar to the worker. Every single Jamaican, the newborn babe forming a part of the population of 3 million, has suffered. Promised prosperity. Prosperity for whom? For whom? You can't get prosperity when you have the kind of leadership running the affairs of state. And the contractor general says such a person should not even sit on a board. No, that person is not just sitting on a board. That person, I think, chairs one. Chairs one. And that person shamelessly speaks. Shamelessly.
You know, Mr. President, on a point of order now, what are we doing now? We're seeking now to ridicule, we have been casting motive on persons, and seeking now to try and bring ridicule against a member of the Senate.
No.
That's what you're doing, KD, man.
No.
You need to
You
just
don't
move
listen.
on, man.
Senator Knight,
President.
your time, first of all,
It's becoming boorish, KD.
first of all, your time is up. So,
It has been disrupted several. Time has been disrupted.
Senator, the senator's time for speaking is up. The senator's time for speaking is up.
President, I was interrupted.
Senator Knight,
I'm going to finish in 2 sentences.
the senator's time is up. It needs to be extended.
Mr. President, though it pains my heart, the speaker's time having expired might be extended to permit him to complete.
Okay, the question is the senator's time be extended. Those in favor? Senator's time is up. Those in favor? And before you continue, Senator Knight, it is almost 1:20. Please, Senator Knight.
President, the move today to revoke is as reckless as it was when there was the move to implement. It was as thoughtless then as it is now. And it was as desperate then as it is desperate now. And this recklessness, thoughtlessness, and desperation is coming from the administration. An administration that has undergone some difficulties when it comes to the concept of honesty. It is sad that on the final day of the sitting of the Senate, the thing that occupies the minds of the well-thinking members of the Senate more than anything else is the dishonesty that permeates the behavior of the administration. And you know, Mr. President, there are those somewhere who would think that that is a hypocritical statement. Well, you know why they think that way? Because they wallow in that kind of behavior. Whoa. They think it is right. They think it is proper. They justify it for themselves and would justify it for others. And so, as they wallow in it, luxuriate in it, they speak seemingly eloquently for its continuance. President, I have thoroughly enjoyed my tenure in the Senate, and I do wish for every member all that is good. There are sometimes when success is not necessarily good. So I'm not wishing the other side success in any event that is at hand. I'm wishing that they all remain safe, but that may they be thrown out of office and repent from the kind of crooked ways which characterize the behavior of the administration that is about to demit office. And the new Prime Minister, if it's one thing he does, is the first cabinet meeting, he should call in the Commissioner of Police and all the senior officers, the head of MOCA, into the cabinet room whilst the ministers are sitting there, and tell those officers, in your hands will be found the key to the prevention of criminality in my administration. I will act on any finding you make, but I'm asking you to help me to ensure that my administration is not riddled with corrupt, thieving individuals.
Mr. President, the time being 1:20, might the Senate be permitted to sit beyond 1:30 to complete the business of the day?
Members have heard the Minister. Those in favor? Against? Minister.
No, you see, you can't be trusted. You can't be trusted. You can't be
Mr. President.
trusted.
Mr. President, I will be.
Minister Samuda.
It will be a short presentation. However, this is the last sitting of the Senate of this term. And as I've come to understand the importance of Hansard, I think it's important to ensure that though no theatrics are required and no excitement needs to go behind its delivery, that some important information is indeed read into the Hansard so that the historical record is clear. Now, Senator Knight, regardless of how you feel about whether or not me presenting, it's unfortunate because, you know, you came in to the last sitting, and certainly I came into this sitting thinking that there had been an interesting term of government. I've built many relationships on my side for persons that I wouldn't have interacted with much before, and I've built some very strong relationships on your side of the aisle. And I recall a conversation I had with your former colleague, Senator Slowly, a little before he had left us in this chamber. He ran into me at UWI campus, and it was after a particular testy exchange on a Friday evening with myself and Senator Brown. And, you know, he said to me, you know, that's not what the Senate is for. It's unparliamentary, and you have to refine your approach. And we had a very long talk. I think we spoke for maybe 45 minutes on it. And I said to him, Senator Knight, at the time, as I've come to understand from my orientation processes would have been led by the clerk and her team, and you look at how Hansard works, I said, it doesn't allow me to sit down and allow incorrect information and certainly unparliamentary language to be spewed at my colleagues and the administration to which I'm a part. I find it natural to respond. Now, I'm going to be quite frank, Senator Knight. I find the presentation you just gave quite disappointing, because on what is the last Senate sitting of this term of government, I'm being frank with you, I find it was particularly unfortunate. It was unbecoming of a man of your stature, and it didn't suit. But it's not like you, Senator Knight, and I find it disappointing. Senator Knight. But let us read what needs to be read into the Hansard, right? Now, Mr. President, there is no denying statistics. We can't have it both ways. Something has either achieved some things or it has not. Have there been successes? Absolutely. Have there been times we've had to readjust strategy because things haven't worked according to plan? Absolutely. But if we were to look directly at what would have taken place because of the decision to impose states of emergency, to label it as reckless is just simply untrue and unfortunate. The fact is, in states of emergency, we have seized over 288 firearms, Mr. President, including 118 in St. James, Mr. President, right? We have seized over 7,900 rounds of ammunition, Mr. President, in states of emergency areas, Mr. President. We have seized 230 magazines, Mr. President. Every single bullet could have been a Jamaican life, Mr. President. I don't apologize for supporting these states of emergency. We have arrested and charged, Mr. President, not one ton holding people without charges. Over 3,100 persons have been charged with a variety of offenses, Mr. President. The fact is, when you look at the performance now, because of the measures of the state of emergency and what is taking place in St. James, when you look at the performance, because there's no agreement from your side to extend it through the election, Mr. President, we know it is the right measure. That is the fact. That is the fact, right? The fact is 3,140 people have been charged.
Mr. President, a point of order, sir. Mr. President? Mr. President? The Minister...
Senator, 1 minute, please. Senator Brown, the point of order.
Yeah. The Minister, my friend, Minister Samuda, is misleading the Parliament, the Senate, when he says that the opposition would not extend the opposition, this state of emergency beyond the election. This Senate and the House approved until October state of emergency.
Thank you,
September
Senator.
3rd. They are the ones who are ending it.
Thank
no,
you, Senator Brown.
they are the ones who are ending it. No.
Go ahead, Senator.
Don't mislead. Don't
It
mislead.
has been publicly reported, since we're allowing newspaper articles in, several times that the opposition had made it clear that there should be no state of emergency measure in place during the period of an election. Is that not correct, colleagues? Based on the opposition's position, Madam Scott, we cannot pass a state of emergency without your support, Madam Leader. That is an unfortunate fact. However, back to my presentation, Mr. President, because I will not be distracted and we need to close quickly so that we can close this term and move to the next term where we are sitting, Mr. President. Mr. President, 3,141 plus people have been charged with a variety of offenses. When we look at the tip lines coming into the police and through places like Crime Stop, They have exploded in areas because you are building the confidence, because you've been able to build the trust because of the results, Mr. President. When we look at the tearing down of gangs, in these areas, we are finally destroying some of the gangs that were allowed to fester. We are finally destroying some of the gangs that are based on the festering that we allowed for so long in some spaces. Now, Mr. President, the facts are, the very unfortunate facts are, is that over 20 years, or 17 years, Mr. President, we moved from over 300 murders a year to over 1,600 murders a year, Mr. President. That's an unfortunate fact. And when we look at, that's over a particular period where the opposition had charge of the country's affairs. Right? That's the unfortunate fact. Several 100% increase under their watch. Now, we talk about what's taking place now. We're dealing with the festering, Mr. President, that was allowed to take place for 30 years, the underinvestment, the failure to update legislation in line with what was required, the failure to connect properly with intelligence. No, but that's a fact. That's a fact. Look, Mr. President. Mr. President, can I have protection, please?
Senator Scott Motley and Senator Brown.
Look, Mr. President, the facts are, the last year of the former administration saw 20% increases in the number of murders in 2015 over 2014. That's in the Hansard, it's clear, it's known, it's published. So the fact is, the trajectory and the issues we're facing now started peaking and showing back their ugly head in the last quarter of actually 2014, Mr. President. It's an unfortunate situation. And we're talking about reckless. Let it never be forgotten that when we were breaking the back initially of what was taking place in St. James, the opposition voted against the measure and stopped the progress that was being made in that space. And we had to catch back our speed, Mr. President. So this admittedly is quite unfortunate. But we are, however, because you will not support an extension and we're way down the road, Mr. President. We're down the road. Now, I have a lot of regard for my colleagues on both sides of the House, right? But I don't have regard for flawed analysis of statistics which are fact. I don't. And can't accept that. The statistics speak for themselves. The measures have significantly impacted positively the citizens of Jamaica who are within these zones. That is without question. Now, I know, like everyone else, that in a developing country, a small island developing states, the process of maturing as a state is not without its challenges. The process of the political parties that we both on both sides would be attached to and represent maturing is sometimes not an easy one. And there is no doubt that parties and members of parties will have challenges and issues will arise. And it is how you deal with them. Issues arose, they were dealt with. That is a fact, without question. But Mr. President, as I said, I didn't come to speak long. I thought those statistics had to be read into the Hansard so that those who read what we have, the value of our decisions and the impact of our decisions will know very clearly that those, it couldn't have gotten here without their support. So they will understand that the value of our decision was that it protected thousands of Jamaican lives and has helped to bring, especially in Western Jamaica, the crime numbers, depending on the day of the week and where the statistics are, between 17 and 20-year lows, Mr. President. So the facts are, when we are back on this side, Mr. President, we will do what is necessary and we will put in place and continue to put in place measures that we believe make Jamaica safer as we move onwards to prosperity, Mr. President. One good term deserves another.
Minister. Thank you, Senator Samuda. Senator Morris.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. Mr. President, today is the final sitting of the Senate for this political term. And I am deeply grateful to make my contribution to the discussion. And before I do so, Mr. President, I must say that it has been a joy once again to serve in this honorable chamber and to have participated in the discussions on different issues in the Senate. And, you know, I've met some interesting individuals across the political divide. And Senator Samuda, I might disagree with your just concluded presentation, but you know, you are one of those individuals that I have held and continue to hold in high regards, because from day one, when you came in the Senate, you stamped your mark with that resolution that you tabled re the environment, moving from the backbench onto the front bench. And I want to say to the younger members of the Senate that when you come into this chamber, if you want to make your name, move, motion, and ask questions so that they can be debated in the parliament. Don't come in the chamber and just walk government line. Make our opposition line. Move resolutions that you can make your mark. And that is what Senator Samuda has done. And, you know, he has made a significant contribution. And I want to say, Senator Samuda, respect you. We disagree on issues from time to time, like your presentation just now, because I am one of those who have a fundamental issue with using states of emergency as a means of fighting crime, because it is an extreme measure that requires the suspension of the fundamental rights and freedoms of our citizens. And I have given support to the states of emergency twice in this chamber because of the particular circumstances at the particular time. But I have consistently opposed the states of emergency because I don't believe that states of emergency should be used to fight crime. It is symbolic of a failing administration to use the states of emergency on a consistent basis to fight crime. And I have a fundamental problem with that, and it constitutes a violation of my philosophical view. And if it was my government doing it, I would give them the same treatment, because I have a fundamental view when it comes on to states of emergency. But, Mr. President, I want to point to this honorable chamber that people engage in acts of criminality because of disappointments. Disappointments that they will have with family members, disappointment that they will have with friends that end up becoming violent, and disappointment with government who fail to deliver services for their advancement. And I tell you, Mr. President, over the past 4.5 years, we have seen some fundamental disappointments on the part of the citizens of Jamaica with the administration. And that has contributed to the frustration of our citizens. I remember, Mr. President, when the Prime Minister took his oath of office, the Prime Minister said not one jot, not one tittle of corruption would be tolerated in his administration. A lofty ideal that I lauded and supported. But when you look at what has happened since 2016, I have been looking at the history of administrations from 1962, and I have not come across an administration that have had so many allegations of corruption that have taken place within such a short period of time, and the potential cost to the country, estimates of over $14 billion. Now, when poor people outside outside see and hear those things, when people outside see and hear those things, Mr. President, Mr. President, when poor people outside see and hear those things, what you're going to see happening is that they are going to take things in their own hands and engage in acts of criminality because they say, leadership do it, so me must do it too. And that is what we have been seeing happening. And Mr. President, we have to make sure that when we are governing the country and we make promises, we fulfill those promises.
Senator Morris, you need to stick to the script still, you know. We have
Mr. President, I am
Senator Brown, I would be appreciative when I am addressing a member, you just give me a break and let me do it. Senator Morris, you need to stick to what the work before us.
I am talking about the states of emergency as a crime enhanced, as a measure to eliminate crime and violence in our society, and I am making the link between the levels of criminality in our society and the failure of our government to respond and to honor commitments to the administration. Another one of the failures, Mr. President, is that in 2014, we passed in this chamber legislation to protect persons with disabilities. In 2016, new administration came in. And 4.5 years have elapsed. And up to now, the administration has not been able to implement the Disabilities Act. If that is not incompetence, I don't know what else, Mr. President, is. And you have over 500,000. You have 500,000 people waiting on this legislation to be implemented. So, Mr. President, when you see all that is happening out there and the disappointments that has taken place amongst the Jamaican people, you can understand. You can understand the frustration. And what they are saying, Mr. President, is time come for somebody pay for all these crimes and criminality that has been taking place in the Jamaican society. Time come. Time come. And Mr. President, you know, Mr. President, the time has truly come. And I am looking forward to a new administration. I am looking forward to a new administration because that new administration will have to take action to put all those who are responsible for raiding the public purse to put them into short pants. To put them into short pants. And you know, some time ago, Senator Knight here this point, and I take my seat thereafter. Some time ago, a senator in this chamber said that they were going to make 89 Old Hope Road a museum. And the last time I checked, Senator Samuda, Mr. President, the last time that I checked, Mr. President, a museum is a wonderful place to go, and you know that very well. But let me tell you something, Mr. President, the time has come because we will have to design a new prison. And we have found the ideal location for that prison, which is on Belmont Road. Because that is the place that we are going to use to lock up a lot of those individuals who have been engaged in acts of criminality. May it please you, Mr. President. Yes, I know you would.
Senator Morris, Senator Scott Motley.
I know you would.
Mr. President, may I, like several other speakers before me, acknowledge that this is the last sitting of the Senate. And may I say that I actually became a member in October 2017, so I'm still shy of being here for 3 years. It has been a different experience from the other times that I've sat in the Senate. But I want to say, as a leader of government business here, leader of opposition business, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. As a leader of opposition business, I want to extend my appreciation to all of the persons here for the support and the encouragement which I have received as I was catapulted in a position which I did not anticipate that I would be in. I want to thank my colleagues on the government side, especially for the way that they have cooperated when we have joint select committees and when we have our standing order committees. That is when I think the finest tradition of the Senate is on display. When the S's agree, it's remarkable that there is always that element of cooperation. I am happy to be able to support this resolution. In my capacity as leader on this side, I've always supported the resolutions which come to impose a state of emergency, even though I have always wrestled with them because I've never felt that it was the right thing to do. I make it absolutely clear that if I had been a part of the government, I would have fought with every fiber of my being to convince my administration that it was not the right way to go. And I say this simply. I have never seen a country move forward using repressive or oppressive means. I do know that a number of persons involved in criminality have been detained, and I do know that a number of them have been arrested. I am not going to argue with those facts at all. My constant refrain is, there is also a price that you pay. And the question that I've always asked is it not possible to have the significant amount of police and soldiers to devise a constitutionally legislative process which would allow that without detaining young men who have never even contemplated breaking the law. I do not believe that it's the best way to solve crime to simply detain men and put them in custody. I believe that it creates another cycle of criminality. And I can tell you that when you talk to the young men out there, some of them are scared because of their experiences, but some of them are bitter and angry. They're bitter and they're angry. And I fear for the consequences of some of the actions that we have taken. I fear, and I say it openly, I am concerned about it because every action has consequences. I want to also say, Mr. President, that Jamaica has changed a lot. There was a time when persons, coming, especially like in rural Jamaica where I grew up, we were all our brother's keepers. We were a village where everybody took responsibility for each other. There are allegations now that family members are hiring persons to kill their own family members in communities where you would never envision that something like that would take place. There are times now when scammers feel that is a form of repatriation. And the context in which I'm raising it now is a context that says that one has to be careful. It has to be a balanced approach to building a country, but more importantly, to creating a nation. And I have never felt that a state of emergency fulfilled the objectives that we need to build a nation. Now, I know what I'm going to hear, because we have had this discussion so many times. I'm going to hear about one bullet, one life. And I'm going to hear that how many lives have been saved. And it is a fact that the more guns you get off the street and the more bullets you get off the street is the lower the risk of them being used in a way to harm people. But I have to say this. The Minister of National Security says 200 guns, about 200 guns come into the island every month. If you are collecting, I forget the statistics that Senator Samuda shared with us, and you know that 200 guns coming into the island, where is it that you ought to be plugging the gap? Where is it that your intelligence ought to be focused? What is it that you can do differently? And why is it that your main emphasis has always been to declare a state of emergency? Why? Now, there are persons who are going to throw up their hands in the air and who are going to dismiss the points that I'm making. It is a sad commentary on where they stand as persons who are supposed to defend the rights of people. You see, Mr. President, this is the last speech I'll be making here, in this sitting, in this term. And I want to say this, that when you hear about corruption and you seek to excuse it, and you sigh and you carry on and you act as though, again, are you raising it again? The people out there are listening. The people of Jamaica are listening. Now, we in here are, in the usual way, as is customary, jostling and sometimes getting very heated about what side we will sit on. And I listened to the Prime Minister speak, and I listened to him give an account of his stewardship. A lot of the things that he boasted about had actually been started by the previous administration and were well advanced. Yes, it was in the pipeline, and you got it out, and nobody's challenging that. But the fact of it is that you found, when you went into office, you could pick up and open the book and turn to whatever page you want.
When we got into office, we had no...
When we got into office, what we found was an economy which after 4 short years was decimated further because, for one, you never felt that any global challenges would impact you, and you were not managing the situation in the way that you should. And there is no gainsaying that one of the things that especially Senator Hill boasts about, the stock market, as though Bloomberg just discovered the stock market when his administration took power without truly acknowledging that Minister Peter Phillips was commended for that, for one of the best performing stock markets in the world in 2015. So you know, it's most ungracious of you to say that, Senator Hill, because that is not the point that I'm making. I have no difficulty at all commending people when they do something which is good. No difficulty at all. I am not the person who is going to be marking the scorecards. The people out there will mark the scorecards, Senator Hill, when they know that they used to be able to eat chicken for Sunday dinner, and now they can barely eat chicken back for Sunday dinner. They will mark the scorecard on prosperity, and they will say what 4 in 5 or 5 in 4 or whatever figment of somebody's imagination was. So the enthusiasm, it seems to me as though there's a lot of anxiety. There's a lot of anxiety in some of the responses, because I would think that if there was a level of confidence, there would be it would be more a dismissive air, but I'm not seeing that. I have one concern, Mr. President, and I want to say it. The COVID situation really bothers me. The recent increase, the daily increase, bothers me. And so I'm taking this opportunity of just asking people to try and observe as much as possible the protocols. I know the masks are uncomfortable. I can barely breathe sometimes in them. And I know social distance is not something that Jamaicans can readily embrace. But I implore the country to, as much as is possible, please adhere to the protocols. They're for all of our safety. In closing, Mr. Chairman, Mr. President, I want to thank the members of the security forces, the hard-working policemen and policewomen and soldiers. I know some of them have not had the opportunity to spend time with their families, and I ask them to make the best of this period. I know that some of them have said they have not been able to help their children with homework. Some of them have been worrying because they have young teenage boys, and they feel if they are not there, they will take a path that they are trying to prevent others to go on. This opposition wants to thank them for the sacrifices they have made for this nation. We acknowledge it. We appreciate it. And we ask them now, we encourage them, as I said, to bond back with their families, to get some much needed rest, to stay safe personally and to continue their work to keep Jamaica safe, if it pleases you.
Thank you, Senator Scott Motley. Minister? Senator Bram, you're coming up next, so lively up yourself.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, I must say this has been a disappointing debate. You'll recall that I started with my optimism, characterized as liberal optimism by the leader of opposition business, the Senate, that there would be unity and consensus, given that the underlying positions on the resolutions before us are not at all in dispute. That is, that the resolutions seek to end the states of emergency in the 5 locations where they have been implemented. Mr. President, the tone of the debate has not been one that I think any of us will want to reflect on positively when we think of how we closed this term. Mr. President, the very base content of it demonstrate and embody why it is that we need an election now. Because it is quite clear, Mr. President, that what the country needs now is certainty. The country needs stability. The country needs unity. Because when I speak about, Mr. President, the fact that we still have a serious crime problem, I'm dealing with the reality. I would not be trying to pretty it up to make a point so that you can take a political jab or whatever clip that you want to make news out of. We have a real issue. And it has justified constitutionally the implementation of states of emergency. And we are following the law and the constitutional framework to revoke it in circumstances or revoke them in circumstances where it was indicated that there was concern that an election should be held, or if an election would be held while they subsisted. So we are going through the process. We are using, as a responsible government, the minimum time within which one can hold an election. But the desire, the intention, the focus on the Jamaican people and what they need is what is in the forefront of our minds and in our hearts, Mr. President, because if we are to triumph, continue to triumph over the COVID-19 pandemic, we are going to need every hand on deck and everyone on board. Mr. President, it presents us with unprecedented circumstances, a delicate balance in ensuring that the economy is open, not for the sake of the economy, not for the sake of business in and of itself, but because our people need to be able to work, to provide for themselves and their families, and this is important to us as a government. It means that we all need to be clear in telling persons at all times to follow the protocols, to wear the masks, to try to social distance as much as possible, even if it is not your natural inclination. It is safer when you are apart than when you are together. But if you cannot be apart, wear your mask, carry a hand sanitizer, use it, wash your hands regularly, more than ever before. These simple things work. And it's important for us all to continue to carry that message. And if it is, Mr. President, that persons continue to try to politic around that issue, if it is that persons will not tell, for example, their supporters, listen, this is a different time. Yes, you have to be in the jollification because that is part of our political vibe and it is hard to step away from it. But think about being safe. Think about it. Don't run in and cause no excitement with anybody else's political meeting that going to have you in any type of contentious circumstance. Just let us try and do the thing differently because we are in a different time. Mr. President, I will raise just a few points, address just a few points which have been raised. There was a question asked about vehicles for the security forces. I want to advise that over the past 4.5 years between the constabulary and the defense forces, we have provided more than 1,400 vehicles between cars, motorbikes, vans, purpose-built vehicles, trucks, and other necessary tools to fight crime. Mr. President, the question was asked about 200. I am making it clear that we have gone way beyond that. A question was asked about handheld scanners, Mr. President. We have raised this before, and I raise it again for Hansard, that the handheld scanners were found to have radiation which was too high, it was unsafe, and there is a process underway. Mr. President, we certainly recognize that on the other side, this is their last opportunity, a sort of last hurrah to raise their narrative as to tell the story as they wish it to be seen. And the good thing, Mr. President, is that in this day and age, the propaganda machines of the 70s and the 90s will no longer work because the internet has allowed us to take our clear message and to take the facts directly to the people, Mr. President. Mr. President, so when persons hear the opposition speaking about rescuing Jamaica from the hands of this administration, they don't know what they're talking about. Because what they know about is a 7.2% unemployment rate. What they know about, that is the lowest in the history of independent Jamaica. Mr. President, they know about a 50% cut in youth unemployment over 4 years, Mr. President. Mr. President, they know about us bringing down the gender employment gap from 9.6% to 2.6%, Mr. President, when women have historically been twice unemployed at twice the rate of men for decades, Mr. President. They know about the thousands. They know that they are among the thousands of people in rural Jamaica who have been receiving water in their communities for the first time, Mr. President. They know about the mobile justice units that are coming to give them access to justice, legal advice about how to deal with their families' issues that they could never provide before. We're adding and expanding the service, going to more communities, Mr. President, and giving the advice that they need. Mr. President, we've had a 40% drop in poverty as compared to 2015, a 40% as recorded in 2018. Mr. President, the PATH budget and the school feeding budget have been increased 83%, Mr. President, 83%. We're feeding children in school 5 days a week, not just 3. Mr. President, we have implemented the tourism workers' pension, Mr. President. our hard-working tourism workers who have been at the heart of our record increase in visitors and repeat visitors because of the experience that people have when they come to this country, Mr. President. That's what's here. The reduction in stamp duty and transfer tax that allow people to do business more affordably, that allow people to access the estates, the dead left, all of the property that they've been unable to unlock because they haven't been able to afford it. We have not only fixed the processes at the Administrator General's Department, but we have lowered the costs to make people able to create wealth within their families. Mr. President, as a result of the policies of this government, 80% of PAYE earners no longer pay income tax because of the 1.5. And Mr. President, as of April last year, we reduced or rather, it was April this year, sorry, GCT was reduced by another 1.5. Mr. President, 1.5%. Mr. President, I hear a particular sound coming from the other side about new foreign minister, but I want to tell you, Mr. President, that I am proud of my tenure as Minister of Foreign Affairs of this country. Jamaica's visibility has been higher and positive, more positive than it has been in decades. Jamaica has never been invited to the G7 before. Jamaica has never been invited to the G20 before. Jamaica has never attended BRICS Plus before. Never before. Andrew Michael Holness is the only Prime Minister of Jamaica that has ever been invited. Mr. President, we have deepened and strengthened. Mr. President, we have deepened and strengthened our relationships with traditional partners and created new partners that have brought an incredible amount of support to Jamaica and continue to identify new trade opportunities, new investment opportunities. We have launched a new economic diplomacy policy in conjunction with JAMPRO. We're renewing the whole honorary consular network, building it and giving them guidance which was never provided before. We have thanked for their service the persons who had served for many years but who had received no support from headquarters as to how it is that they could conduct their role as honorary consul. Now we have meetings where they are given information. We have webinars where they are given training from JAMPRO that allow them to identify how they can bring more tourists here, how they can bring more investment here, and they are excited and grateful for the opportunity to serve at a new level. Mr. President, we have deepened our engagement with the diaspora, with our new Global Jamaica Diaspora Council and Diaspora Youth Councils, which have representation now instead of any political cumbalo that you want to talk about. We have representatives from Jamaicans in Africa, in Asia and the Pacific, from Latin America and the Caribbean, in the Middle East, Mr. President. We have them from Europe as well as our traditional jurisdictions. And we're working together to bring the best of their knowledge and human resources to partner with us here. Mr. President, the Youth Council, we have had an unprecedented synergy between the young people's groups here and the young people overseas. And we continue to enhance and expand our engagement with this very important body of persons. Mr. President, we are a responsible government. We are a responsible government, Mr. President. We are a responsible government, and this is recognized broadly, internationally, and it is recognized broadly by the people of Jamaica in the record high positive polls that have been shared with the Jamaican public. Mr. President, never before have we seen these positive numbers in terms of the number of people who believe and know that this country is heading in the right direction. Never before have we had such a clear distinction in the number of people who put their faith in a Prime Minister of Jamaica, and in this case it is Andrew Michael Holness, who has been leading us through the tough times. Mr. President, even the national consensus stakeholders have recognized that there are roles for the military and for extreme circumstances to demand extreme arrangements, as we have done. States of emergency have served a purpose, and they have kept Jamaicans safe in communities where they had no recourse before. We don't resile from the challenges that continue to lie ahead of Jamaica. But as the Prime Minister has said, it is time to seek a new mandate so that this type of petty discourse is eliminated, because it is heightened during times when elections are near. We want to give the private sector certainty, because there is uncertainty in the pandemic and they need the greatest amount possible in order to make investments and to continue to grow our economy. Mr. President, we need certainty because schools have to reopen, and we need to ensure that the best frameworks are in place to ensure that our children return safely in the appropriate mechanisms. Mr. President, we need to encourage unity in order to take this nation forward. And it is in this context that the election has been called and that these resolutions have been brought before us. Mr. President, I ask for a positive vote. I ask for the resolutions to be affirmed. I thank you. Mr. President.
Thank you very much, Minister. The question is in relation to 5 resolutions, which I will take as one. The Emergency Powers number 3, 2019 continuance number 3 resolution. Mr. Brown, can you allow me, please? The Emergency Powers number 3, 2019 continuance number 3 resolution 2020. Number 2, the Emergency Powers 2019 continuance number 3 resolution 2020. 3, the Emergency Powers number 2, 2019 continuance number 3 resolution 2020. The Emergency Powers number 2 continuance number 2 resolution 2020. And finally, the Emergency Powers continuance number 3 resolution 2020. Madam Clerk, take the roll, please.
Senator Graham?
Yes.
Senator Brown? Yes. Senator Crawford? Senator Fraser-Binns? Senator Fraser-Binns? Sorry. Senator Gale? Senator Hamilton? Yes. Senator Horton? Abstain.
Abstain.
Decline to vote. Senator Hill? Yes. Senator Johnson-Smith? Yes. Senator Knight, Senator Longmore, Senator Morgan, Senator Morris, Senator Morrison, Senator Samuda, Senator Scott Motley, Senator Sinclair, Senator Skeffrey, Senator Webby, Senator Williams, Mr. President.
Thank you very much. I do report the vote as follows. 15 ayes, 2 declined to vote, stroke abstention, 4 absent. So the ayes have it. Senator Bram, your turn.
Mr. President, I now move for the suspension of the standing orders to enable me to take the motion, notice of which I had given earlier.
Thank you very much. You have heard the Senator. Those in favor? Against? Go ahead.
Mr. President, I now move that the motion, notice of which I had given earlier, be approved. And in my very detailed speech in support, I commend the motion. It is obvious for a good cause, and I thank the Senate for accommodating me over these many years. I've learned a lot, and I trust that I did make some kind of contribution. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Members have heard the motion. Those in favor? Against? Minister?
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, it is not intended to do any further business today, Mr. President. But as it is, are you saying that we can take? It sounds like there is an appetite to take the electricity regulations, which
Senator
I'm
Hill,
perfectly ready
Senator
to take.
Hill, don't leave him.
In fact, I received my brief just now, so I am ready.
Eh?
No. Wonderful. Mr. President, may I recommit notices of motion taken or given orally? No. It'll be our first order of business. Mr. President, as we now recognize the close of the Senate, and as has been indicated, this is our last.
Just before you do that, Senator Hill, I just wanted to say thank you very much for your service to the Senate and being an able deputy to me during the last several years. I appreciate your contribution to the country and the Senate. I know you have to leave, but I just wanted to say thank you. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, as this is in fact our last sitting for the term, I too wish to just close on the note that it has been an honor to be the leader of government business, to be supported by this incredible team of dedicated Jamaicans who always have the people of Jamaica at their hearts, Mr. President. And Mr. President, we have had our challenges, undoubtedly, and as I've said, this perhaps may not have been the tone that I would have wished for our last debate. But it is what it is, and we all bring our particular perspectives to the table, and we defend them passionately. And for that, Mr. President, I imagine the Jamaican people are appreciative that sometimes it takes on a robustness that, that perhaps they would wish not to be witness when they engage with this chamber. Mr. President, we are in unprecedented times, and I will not go on longer, but simply to use this platform to again remind everyone, wear your masks, sanitize your hands. You can, as I hear Senator Longmore reminding people about immunoboosting, your ginger, your turmeric, your garlic, our natural remedies, they don't cure everything, but they do help you be healthier. They do help to build your health. So, Mr. President.
You need to explain how to use the turmeric because I can't get it past my lip, you know.
So, Mr. President, however, I want to wish every blessing to every member of this Senate. I wish to thank all the members of the parliamentary staff who have supported us ably every time we come into this chamber and in preparation before. I want to thank them for all the efforts they have done to keep the place sanitized and distanced for us, to make sure that we are safe as we conduct the nation's business. I wish to thank the Hansard team for faithfully recording our words, even as tough as that may be sometimes. I can't as much as it is for some of us to listen, I imagine it must be as hard for you to type. So I wish to just thank you, to thank you for your continued dedicated service to this Parliament. We couldn't do this work and we couldn't create history and an appropriate historical record without you. So we thank you. Mr. President, it is on this note, on one of thanks for the blessings that have been bestowed on us as a nation. I pray for our continued safety during this term, during this period of campaigns. I appeal for persons to be calm and to be judicious about how they go about the campaign. And I look forward, Mr. President, to us recovering stronger, for us returning stronger, and for continuing to build the new Jamaica that we all desire to live in, to work in, to do business in, and to retire in paradise. I thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Minister. Senator Scott Motley.
Mr. President, I wish to embrace the words which has been used by the Minister, and to add my own deep appreciation to the parliamentary staff in particular, in which I include the orderlies, and to say, Mr. Marshall, who comes from my parish and therefore holds a special place in my heart, Mr. Luton, who sends out all the notices, who attended Clarendon College, and I won't single out anybody else, but just to say that everybody here has made a significant contribution to all of us. And I extend a particular appreciation on my own behalf because, as I said earlier, having come here a little later than most people, they extended themselves to ensure that I was comfortable in this space and certainly assisted me a great deal. Mr. President, I have learned a lot. I've learned a lot about life. I've learned a lot about humanity. I've learned a lot about standing orders. Thank you, sir. We have, in a way, come almost full circle in the way that we've done things. This COVID-19 pandemic has awakened new possibilities for us. And as I've said to you, Mr. President, I thoroughly enjoy the Zoom meetings which you set up because of the level of efficiency which it created, and the fact that every time the meeting was concluded, I felt that we had achieved something. I thought that was, I want to commend you on that bold step, and also on the bold step in terms of saying, how can we as a Senate function if going forward we are faced with this as just a natural reality? And the increase in the COVID-19 cases over the last couple of weeks makes us know that we are very far from being over it, and that it might become almost a way, something that we have to create new ways to live with. And I am proud of the fact that the Senate has taken a lead in terms of looking at how the Constitution or the rules can be amended to facilitate this. Mr. President, I have friends over that side, some that I've had for a long time, some new ones that I've made, some people who I've built relationships with. I have a family over this side. They are real family, not make-up family. We share grief, we share joy, we share feelings. And I feel humbled, truly humbled, by being given the opportunity to lead them. I think it's a great honor. It was not something I expected, but it's something that has helped me to grow as an individual. As Minister will know, there are many times when I've cooperated with her even though I don't want to. There are many decisions that I've had to take which I've ranted to her about, but I have recognized that leadership is challenging and difficult, and it's not about your personal view. So that too, I have come to appreciate. Mr. President, I want to thank you. There are people who don't understand our rituals. I know one senator offered to send water down to the opposition because he felt that I came to, you know, every Friday morning I would go and I would collect my 2 bottles of water. And I told him, no, I didn't want that because I appreciated the conversations which we had before. And those conversations sometimes are about art. They're very rarely about the Senate, but they are conversations that I always appreciate, and I want to thank you personally. And just to express my deep appreciation for the guidance and for the words of encouragement, which you always have for me, and the pleasantries. To Jamaica and those watching, Jamaica is a nation which is rich with possibilities. All of us need to recognize that and tap into it so that we can be the best that we are capable of. All of our difficulties and our obstacles offer us opportunities to overcome and to show who we can be. And the discourses which we have, though sometimes very fractious, though sometimes they create discord, when we reflect on them later, we can understand the different viewpoints. And that is the most important thing about politics and leadership, that we have to be tolerant of the different viewpoints which each person has, and we have to rise above it. I thank all of you here. I wish you all the best in all your endeavors. And I only say to you, stay safe. Stay safe. We all speak as though we are assured that we will survive. There are no guarantees. We all speak as though we are assured of many things. There are no guarantees. No guarantees. Life doesn't make us any promises. Only human beings promise to each other. So my greatest entreaty is just stay safe. Just be careful. I thank you, Mr. President, and I thank all the persons who sit here, if it pleases you.
Thank you, Senator Scott Motley. Well, I begin my few words of goodbye, really, because it is the nature of things that all of us will not return here in the next dispensation. And no one really knows who will return, because our fate are in the hands of others. First of all, I thank the Minister, Leader of Government Business, for really putting an excellent face to the government's work in this Senate. It was a pleasure working with you, even although sometimes I got the impression that you never really realized who was in charge. But there you go, that's the nature of it. To the Leader of Opposition Business, as you said, we have a very long relationship that's grounded in a number of things. It's a pleasure working with you. Madam Clerk, and to your staff, all your staff, I think one of the disappointments that I will have during this term is that a number of improvements that we hope to do in the Parliament and with your staff did not come to fruition. I suspect partly because there is a notion that we are moving on from here soon, so perhaps there is not a desire to make some changes in the physical structure that we had hoped to do. But if it is the will of God, there will be more time to do what it is that we had spoken about, Madam Clerk, and your deputy. To the Marshal, thank you very much. Of great help to all of us. With your military precision, you're always most important in maintaining the dignity of the Parliament. To the orderlies, thank you very much for all of your assistance, even although sometimes I'm wondering if you're sleeping over there, but thank you very much to all of you. To the members of the security forces, and of course Hansard and our signer, Ms. Aitken, who had been acknowledged earlier. Oh yes, I was getting there, Mrs. Cook. And of course to Mr. Merrick Brown and the team who assisted us greatly with the Zoom meetings that we have had. And Madam Minister, I'm going to invite you to one of the Zoom meetings in the immediate future so you can see exactly what it is we are doing. Yes. And of course, there is Tashana, who is responsible for the PR and who never fails to present me to the public in the best possible light. And of course, the press, without whom I guess we would fade into irrelevance sooner or later. I did say that, Senator Brown. So as I said, it is the nature of things that some of us will be back, some will not. It has been a pleasure working with all of you. And as I said earlier, to the extent that this term has been successful for me, it is a reflection on the level of cooperation that I got from all of you. As the Minister and Leader of the Opposition Business has said to the Jamaican people, please remember that COVID is still a keep, and we need to be safe during this time of transition, because that is what it is. This Honourable Senate now stands adjourned. Ms. Cook, I know. This Honourable Senate now stands adjourned, sign or die. I was going to say it, Ms. Cook. You see, you can't operate without the experience of the clerks. Let me put on my message mask.
heroes wear capes, some wear scrubs,